Have you ever been tricked into a relationship? The Jacksons have been our neighbors since I was 2 years old. They had 2 daughters. The older daughter, Rosie, was a year older than me, but I had a crush on her since I was old enough to understand what a crush was. I made a constant fool of myself whenever I was around her. I didn't notice anything else but her. But when I asked her out when I was 16, she laughed at me and said no. Then she told all her friends what a loser I was. I was heartbroken, but apparently I didn't learn my lesson the first time because I asked her out again when I was 19, a few weeks after she broke up with her boyfriend. She just stared straight through me and said no, that she wasn't ready to date and she definitely wouldn't date someone like me. That's fine. I went back to college after that, and that was where I met Rosie's younger sister, Lily. I never really noticed her before, but after studying together for a few weeks, I realized we had a lot in common, so we started dating. In secret because my parents wanted me to get together with Rosie. It wasn't until 4 years later that I saw Rosie again. My parents told me to come over for family dinner with the Jacksons. I didn't think Lily was going to be there because she had work, but when I strolled through the front door, both sisters were sitting in the living room. Rosie was bragging about the promotion she just got at her job, and Lily looked like she'd rather be anywhere else. She smiled sweetly at me when she saw me, and I returned her smile. It was a private thing between us, but Rosie caught it and narrowed her eyes on us before turning on a brilliant smile. "Jared!" she exclaimed, leaping to her feet and throwing her arms around my neck. "I'm so glad you're here." Then she leaned in close and whispered in my ear, "Whatever happens tonight, just go with it." Her words startled me, but I shook it off. I didn't think much about it again until halfway through dinner, when Dad asked Rosie if there was a man in her life. She shot me a sly look before grinning at my dad. "Actually, there is," she announced loudly. Silence fell over the table. "Well, who is it?" Mrs. Jackson asked excitedly. Before I could protest or say a word, Rosie grabbed my hand and said, "Jared and I decided to finally give it a try, didn't we, honey?" I was speechless. My gaze immediately went to Lily, but she was staring hard at her plate, face pale. My parents immediately grinned. Mom squealed in excitement and started planning the wedding with Mrs. Jackson. Dad clapped me on the back and beamed at me, while Mr. Jackson hugged his daughter. Everything was happening too quickly, and I couldn't keep up with it. I glanced around the table and excused myself to go to the bathroom. Lily found me leaning against the wall in the hallway. "Jared," she said softly. I spun around to face her, tears instantly filling my eyes. "I'm sorry," I said quickly. "I didn't know she was going to do that. I swear." Lily smiled sadly. "What are you going to do about it?" she asked. I shrugged. I had no idea what to do. I knew what the right thing to do was, but everyone in there looked so happy. I headed back to the dining room without another word to Lily. Rosie grinned at me, but when she saw Lily behind me, her expression turned into something ugly. "So, Lily, I heard you got demoted at work," Rosie said loudly. Lily froze, face turning red with anger and embarrassment. "That's none of your business," she said quietly. Rosie opened her mouth to say more, but I was done. I leaped to my feet. "Shut up!" I snapped at Rosie. Her mouth snapped shut and her eyes widened in shock as she stared at me. I turned to my parents with a sigh. "I'm sorry, but what Rosie just told you guys was a lie." It was so quiet as everyone watched me. I turned to Rosie, filled with anger. "I can't believe you tried to force me into a relationship after rejecting me twice in my younger years," I said quietly. Rosie sighed. "I was too young then," she said. "I'm ready for a relationship with you now." I looked at her thoughtfully. "Are you? Or did you just learn that I made partner at my firm?" I asked. Rosie gasped, but I saw the flicker of emotions on her face. I hit the nail on the head. "I would never," she snapped. I rolled my eyes. "Do better at acting," I muttered. I glanced at my parents. "I'm dating Lily," I said sharply. "In fact, I have a plan to propose to her." I glanced at Lily, whose face shone with joy. I held a hand out to her. "Let's go," I said. She didn't hesitate, leaping up to follow me. I paused at the door of the dining room, turning back with a sly smile. "By the way, I quit my job, so I never made partner at the firm," I said calmly, staring at Rosie. The last thing I saw before walking away was her furious expression.